Hello, everybody. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Colin Mitchell. Today, Colin, we have Dereck Lively, 7'1" center from Duke, true freshman, 19.3 years old. One of the more, I say this about every prospect, but he's moving up boards very quickly, right? Across the league, you had him being as like a fringe first round guy earlier, like probably right when the season ended, and then over the past 2-3 months, as people are watching him shoot in an empty gym, he has continued to rise and is now, projected as a lottery pick.
Was that a shot at
And
him, by the way?
what was that?
Watching him shoot in an
No,
empty
no, no,
gym?
no, no. It's
Oh,
not a
okay.
shot. It's
Just
not a
wasn't sure.
shot.
Just wasn't sure.
Not a shot. Because everybody does it. I'm just saying a lot of people are holding a lot of weight into his 3-point shooting in an open gym. And not saying he doesn't have touch. We'll get into all this in a bit, but still, he's moved up a lot. Potential lottery pick now. We need to give our takes on him because he is shooting up boards. What do you think of Dereck Lively?
I like him a lot, but there's also a lot of things I don't like about him. Let me
Me
start with
too.
the things that I like about him. I think rim protection, amazing. First in defensive plus minus, 12.8% block percentage. He's able to stay vertical. He does get some fouls, but I think overall his rim protection is great. Pick and roll defense, same thing. He can switch out on the perimeter if need to. I don't think he can be a full switch guy, but I think he can hold his own. And then his lob threat and rim running ability, I think, is also going to be very good. There's some stuff where it's like his playmaking could be there, but I think that needs to be seen. I think in DHOs he could do something, but I don't think right now he'd be able to come to the NBA and do anything with his playmaking.
I'm really excited about his defense specifically. I think it was third in the country in block percentage, 7'7" wingspan, like 7'1". Like, what more could you want out of this? And it
Right.
reminds me a lot of Walker Kessler
That's what I
last
thought
year.
too.
And I don't have that written down as a comp, even though it's a pretty good comp immediately after. But we saw the impact Walker Kessler had at Utah this year, and we saw his ability to protect the rim at the NBA level, and then also, score the ball at a decent clip too. I think there's a lot of similarities in their games. The difference is in college, Walker Kessler was used a lot more than Dereck Lively was. He shot the
Right.
ball a lot more, so we got to see a lot more of his offensive repertoire there. But defensively, I think there's a lot of similarities there, and Dereck Lively is probably a little bit better athlete, like you
Yeah,
said,
he
on the
moves a lot better.
perimeter than Walker Kessler was.
Yeah.
Um, so I think, but at the end of the day, I think he's probably just gonna be a drop defender in pick and rolls because he is so long. He can, affect a shot and affect a lob potentially. So
Mm-hmm.
you love that from that type of defender. I think you kind of hit on everything else there. I think the rebounding is a real upside there, especially offensive rebounding at 12.4%. That's really exciting. I mean, higher than Walker Kessler's last year. I think Kessler was at 10%, 10.5%, something like that.
Yeah.
You mentioned the processing ability, the passing ability. I'm not gonna, like you said, I don't want to say he's going to be an elite passer or a great passer, but I think on
Right.
short rolls, there are situations where he can catch it, turn, and doesn't panic.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. You don't know how many times you watch these college basketball players play and they catch on a short roll and they have no idea what to do, or they plunge into a guy for a charge. It's just he is under control. And I think a lot of that is I say this a lot, but I go back to their high school, ratings, high school tape, because a lot of times you see those high school players pan out,
Mm-hmm.
or those high school ratings, I should say, pan out. He was the number one player in his class, right? He's the number one freshman in the country coming in.
Yeah.
And you see that feel, you see what made him such an appealing player out of high school. And so, yeah, I think all of those things combined with the fact that he shot 70%, 78% at the rim, 70%, 72% from two. Obviously, that's not on high volume, but still, he's just, if nothing else, a lob threat and a good defensive player, which those guys tend to stick around a bit, even if they're not, great players. They tend to stick around as good players.
I feel like you're gonna hate my weaknesses for him. Where do you wait before we get into the weaknesses? Where do you have him on your big board?
I have him pretty high.
I
I
have him
am a
18th.
sucker for for
I
the
have him at
open
18th
gyms.
right now. I'm a sucker for open gyms. That's crazy.
I've watched too many of those empty gym shooting videos, Colin. I've been brainwashed. I have him at 11.
11.
11.
I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and make fun of you because listen,
No, do your
but
thing. Make fun of me. Come
here's
at
why
me.
I don't
Do
think
it.
he can be 11.
There you go.
Here's why I don't think he can be 11. I think yes, he was 77.4% at the rim, only 52% on layups. That's pretty bad for a guy that's 7'1", has a 7'7" wingspan. I don't think he's aggressive enough. I don't think he has a non-dunking finishing ability. I don't think he can finish around the rim unless he dunks. And then a real reason, and I think this is often overlooked because a lot of the stuff, he's a skinnier guy. I think that his inability to screen right now can be an issue. And obviously it seems like it's an easy fix, but I feel like his inability to get good contact on a screen and his body not being big is going to be an issue because a lot of other guys they aren't going to have the defensive impact that he does, but a lot of other guys can do the things he does at a lower level, but be more effective on the offensive end. Now, if he adds that shooting, you talk about those open gym videos. If he can add that 3, then then none of that matters. But that has to hit first. And I don't think it's going to be hard for him to see the court in a long-term capacity for him to be able to take those threes if he can't screen and if he can't make layups.
Do you see any James Wiseman in him?
I think James Wiseman was a much more offensively polished player.
He was yes, and he was a much more aggressive player. That's if you want to dig into Dereck Lively. The problem is what was the stat? You have the stat?
He was 52% on layups.
No. The usage percentage stat. I have it up now.
Oh, I don't have the usage percentage stat.
So this is via Bart Torvik. Torvik, they have a great website over there.
Yeah.
There has never been a player drafted since 2008 with a lower usage percentage than Dereck Lively. That's something right there.
That's a crazy stat.
Like, again, we're talking about 5 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, 1.1 assists, 2.4 blocks, 0.7 turnovers. Like, he just wasn't. You watch their games, and I went back. I watched their games, and I felt like I was watching that Bilal Coulibaly tape where it's
just
like,
sitting there.
Yeah, you're just like, is he going to do something offensively? Yeah. And then when he did catch it, he wasn't assertive enough offensively. And that's the concern. It's like, all right, but the problem is if you watch that Duke team, I hated watching that Duke team.
Right.
I absolutely hated that Duke team because you have Kyle Filipowski, you have all these guys here that then the guards and the wings don't really make a ton of sense and nothing makes sense about this team. And so you're like, if you're Dereck Lively, a guy who needs to be set up, they weren't setting anybody up. And so that's where it's like, okay, again, he needs to be more assertive. He should have been more assertive, but I can totally understand why he didn't shoot the ball because nobody set him up. Like if you put him with, I scouted Jalen Hood-Schifino recently, and he was awesome out of ball screens because him and Trace Jackson-Davis, 2 guys that we'll probably do one video on in the coming days or 2 videos on, but they would just pick and roll people to death. I'm like, you give him that guard, and I think we're looking at him completely different. Like I think we're looking at a guy could have averaged 14, 15 points per game with 10 rebounds. Like this is just a different player to me, but they played 2 bigs, didn't have creators, and it was just ugly to watch in a lot of it. So we talk about a lot about the situation. Even though he was at Duke, I don't think it was a great situation for Dereck Lively.
I don't think it was a great situation, but I feel like more should have been shown.
Well, at the end of the day, he's going to be able to shoot, so it doesn't matter. Just this is the interesting thing. He didn't shoot in college well.
Yeah, it's 2 of 13 from 3.
Didn't shoot at college well. AAU, they said he shot 11 of 27 from the stats that I saw.
I have 11 of 40.
Well, Colin, you're rounding down, I think. Oh, was it 11 of 40? Maybe it was 11 of 40.
I have 11 of 40 in AAU.
Because 11 to 22 would be crazy, actually. 11 to 27 would be crazy. All right, let's say 11 makes regardless in AAU, which isn't a lot considering how many games they play.
Right.
If the thing about his jumper is it looks fluid enough to where I think he can step out and just hit an 18-footer consistently.
Right.
And if you get a rim protector, who did we talk about with Serge Ibaka? Taylor Hendricks? Taylor Hendricks was my Serge Ibaka comp. Like, you're getting, in theory, and this is why I have him over Taylor Hendricks. He kind of does everything Hendricks does, but better, except to obviously shoot the ball, which Hendricks is a very, very good shooter at this point. But like, I can see him translating immediately and being able to play immediately, and that gets to my comparisons: Mitchell Robinson and JaVale McGee.
Mitchell Robinson and JaVale McGee.
Yes.
Would you draft Mitchell Robinson, JaVale McGee at 11?
Starting centers on playoff teams? Yes, I would.
Okay.
Mitchell Robinson? Yes, Mitchell Robinson for the Knicks issue was great. JaVale McGee had a very long, prosperous career, starting and helping out a lot of teams, including the Warriors, win a lot of games.
Mm.
I think that's pretty good.
See,
And he can shoot better than both of them.
it's tough because obviously his like I'm not trying to say that he can't like he's going to be a great defensive player, but I think in order for him to see the court, the other things have to come together. I have Willie Cauley-Stein as my comp
Okay,
for him.
that's interesting.
I think his ceiling is high. I think his ceiling
I liked
is
Willie Cauley-Stein out of college.
all defensive candidate type guy. I mean, like we were talking about it, Walker Kessler.
Yeah.
And I think he's better in terms of what he can do defensively than Walker Kessler. Obviously, he didn't have the crazy, insane block percentages, but that's what I think he could be. The problem, like you said, is Walker Kessler on offense did a lot more. You saw a lot more, but not only that, he knew how to use his body more. And I feel like Dereck Lively isn't. The NBA can help this. He can gain more weight. He can learn how to screen. He can learn how to be more aggressive. But it's a lot of that. I feel like is also mentally being willing to use your body. And if he's not able to do that, the defensive stuff doesn't matter to me if you are a complete liability on offense. Now, like I said, if the three hits, then the three hits. Then that completely changes. But those are my issues.
We're gonna pray that the develops, and I think he'll take a couple years. Like he's not gonna step in and immediately, I don't think, be a he's not gonna be a key contributor on a good team. Like I just don't think he's
Right.
gonna be at that point. It might take him a couple years, like James Wiseman. Like it took Wiseman a couple years, and now look at him in Detroit, thriving, right?
He's not thriving.
Thriving. But again, he's he's an infinitely better defensive player than James Wiseman was. We saw the impact of Walker Kessler. I'm just looking at it from a developmental standpoint. I think there's a lot of ways that this could go. I don't think he has the rookie year of Walker Kessler. I just don't.
Right.
Like that was
I don't think
too
so
good
either.
of a rookie year. But second year, third year, I think we start to see him really start to impact games on the defensive end. All right. Let me make sure that's all I got. Yep. Do you believe in the shooting? That was the big question I had.
Do you believe?
Do you believe?
You got to get
There-
the UFO shirt, but replace it with Dereck Lively's face.
Do you believe Dereck Lively? There's the thumbnail for you, actually.
Yeah.
Make it easy on you. But all right, that's all we got for y'all today. Hope y'all enjoyed the episode. Let us know what you think of Dereck Lively, where you think he should go in the draft, if you want your team to take him, all that stuff. We'll be out with another video soon. I think we're starting to rattle these off. So every day we'll have videos in the coming week before the draft. But yeah, thank y'all for joining us, and we'll talk to y'all later.